gets frustrated when that happens. Officer Wall, since this morning you've been in a mischievous mood today. Since this morning you've been in a mischievous mood.
It feels like a winner, sir.
Oh, no, that was before.
That was before.
That was even before that.
He was like that before the
Where is our pancake award?
Or the big, they always do the big.
No, last year they showed it.
Yes, on television.
Thank you, sure.
We're on, are we?
Do we still have it?
I think we do.
No.
Well, hello, everybody. Good afternoon. And we'll call this meeting to order. The first thing this afternoon, obviously, is the agenda. You have it before you. I'll accept a motion on the agenda as presented. Moved by Councillor Akers, seconded by Councillor Tessier. Are there any additions to the agenda other than those already listed? Nothing at all? No money bills? No nothing. Okay, we'll call the question. All in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded, motion is carried. Next item for us will be the minutes and action report from our public meeting of February 22nd. Moved by Councillor Stoyles, seconded by Deputy Mayor Locke, that we accept the minutes as presented. Are there any errors or omissions? Errors or omissions from the meeting of February 22nd? Hearing none, we'll call it. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded, motion is carried. Any business arising from the minutes of February 22nd? Business arising from the minutes of February 22nd. Anybody?
No.
Councillor Lane is not here. That's what it is. Councillor Lane has gone out to Central. He's gone out to Central Newfoundland. Couldn't be with us this evening. And maybe that's why. All right, well, that's it for minutes. We'll move on. We do have today, Council, a proclamation to sign, and this is for World Plumbing Day. We do have some people here in the gallery with us, and I'm going to introduce to Council Mr. Ron Neary with the Canadian Institute of Plumbing and Heating, Jack Bevis, the Mechanical Contractors Association, and Sherry Slaney, with the Canadian Institute of Plumbing and Heating, the Newfoundland and Labrador Region Coordinator. All three are here with me. I'm going to invite them up here while I read this proclamation into the record. You guys come up with me. One of you got to get a picture, or one of you want to get a picture taken? Mr. Yevchek is very good, but let's use Mr. Chamarny. Why don't we torture him? He's new. Let's use him.
Yeah, you can all get in the picture. There you go.
That's why you moved to the other side.
We'll get the new community services director and make him be a photographer. You can do that for us, Brian. All right, you guys come on up around me here. And Ron, I'm going to get you to stay really close.
Really close.
Where's the microphone?
We have it right here, sir.
All right, you got it turned on?
We have that done, sir.
You are ahead of the game, brother. All right, here we go. Here's the proclamation. Every person on the planet is affected by the availability of clean drinking water and basic sanitation. In many developing countries, plumbing is either very limited or even non-existent, and the lack of an effective plumbing infrastructure is a huge factor in the tragic statistics which show that an unacceptably high proportion of the world population does not have access to safe water or an effective sanitation system. The World Health Organization estimates that over 3 million children under the age of 5 die each year due to water-related diseases. Simple plumbing solutions could make all of the difference in saving their lives. With an increased global focus on climate change, the plumbing industry is a major player in relation to water conservation, use and reuse issues, and in the installation and maintenance of equipment using renewable sources of energy. The Mechanical Contractors Association of Canada, the Canadian Institute of Plumbing and Heating, and the World Plumbing Council, along with related organizations around the world, will join together on March 11th, 2011, to raise awareness of the importance of proper plumbing in relation to protecting the planet and its citizens. Therefore, I, Mayor Randy Sims, on behalf of the City of Mount Pearl Council, do hereby proclaim March 11th, 2011, as World Plumbing Day in the City of Mount Pearl. And we usually have a piece of paper around, and I have this thing actually on paper today, so I'm going to affix my signature on behalf of the city. And I'm going to invite Mr. Neary, I believe it is, if you would, say a few words and tell council about your plans for the day.
Thank you, Mayor and councillors. We're just going to take a few minutes of your time. It's so important. I think water, we take it for granted. We turn our taps on. I notice you're all drinking from pitchers and glasses, not bottles. Thank you. Because I think we're paying more for bottled water today than we are for gasoline, or used to be, on the price went up this week. We represent the distributors in St. John's, and Mr. Bavis here represents the Mechanical Contractors Association. And guys, every time you turn your tap on, you flush the toilet. Mr. Bavis's people have a part in that, and we take it for granted. Randy's just indicated, the mayor has just indicated that there are 3 million kids. That's a lot. Under the age of 5 die of water-related disease. That's a staggering number. So what we're trying to do is educate the young people today. So on Friday morning we're going to the schools, and we're going to go in and talk to the grade 4s and grade 5s and just talk about water quality, showing some clean water, some dirty water, and try to paint a picture, because I think we have to start at that basis today. We have not yet in Newfoundland or in the St. John's media start paying for our water, but in other parts of the world they are. St. John or in Halifax, for an example, they pay for the water by metering. So I don't know where that's going to go, but somewhere down the road. But anyway, in closing, thanks very much. We really appreciate your proclamation signing, and just think about it when you flush the toilet, or you drink the water, or you waste water on your lawns. Think about the people in the world who don't have clean drinking water. It's a very important thing. And 3 million kids under 5 years, my gracious, that's hard to comprehend.
Amazing.
Thank you again, and we do thank you,
And,
Your Worship.
and thank you so much, and I will present this to you. Here's your proclamation, sir. Thank you very
so
much.
We'll get a picture of you.
And all right, you want to have a look over here?
Get out in front there and take some pictures. Ready?
Thank you so much.
Get all our crowd together over here, guys.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. There we go.
Done.
Wonderful. Appreciate
Thank
it
you
so
very
much.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys. Thank you. Thanks, folks.
Now we have one other presentation that we're going to make today, and I believe that he is here. I hope he is here. Max Harvey, if you would, I want you to come up here with me for a minute. Council, as you all know, Mr. Harvey here has been serving Mount Pearl, I'm going to say, Max, in a number of capacities, but certainly in one that stands out, and you did with distinction, is serve the city as chair of our Admiralty House Museum, our archives there. And over the life of that organization, it has met with a measure of success that, quite frankly, is pretty astounding to us. We're pretty impressed with that facility, how it's been maintained, the programming that's going on there, the strategic plan that was put in place for the facility, and, of course, the fact that the facility continues to operate today with even bigger plans and bigger ambitions. It is not unknown to the members of this council that nothing good gets done on its own. It takes both vision, it takes passion, and it takes leadership. I think that you know that your time as chair of our museum was an outstanding time of growth and positive development at Admiralty House. It is a thing that all of this council is proud of. I was asked today, and I am honored today, to be able to make a little presentation. We know that you're finished with this particular project. You have others in mind, and we have others in mind for you, Max. Be prepared. But we have a little token to give to you today as a show of our appreciation, and to say in some tangible way, as small as it is, how very big a thank you you deserve, how much appreciation you deserve, and to let you know how very proud that we are to say that you are a friend of this city, a tremendous volunteer and contributor to this city, and we want you to know that our thanks is as heartfelt as any that can be delivered anywhere. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We really appreciate your work. Okay, Max Harvey, everybody. And you want to say something? Hold on now. We got to give you this. We got to come up with a better system, guys. There you go, sir.
Closer to
the microphone.
the microphone.
Yeah,
Thank you, Your Worship.
You got to get over here by me a little bit, apparently. How's that? All right, you go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. Admiralty House Museum has enjoyed a tremendous support from the Council, and we certainly appreciate that, and we look forward to long-standing and growing commitment as we go forward. Admiralty House Museum is a wonderful institution in this city, for the region and for the province. And every time that people go there, they discover something new, whether it be about Mount Pearl, whether it be some of the communications history, the Florizel, and a number of other things about the city, as well as programming for all. So I encourage all, the city and the region, to get out to Admiralty House Museum, visit again for the first time, because it is a wonderful institution. I've been very proud and honored to be part of it and serve with the council and under the council to help it grow. We look for great things in the future, and we look for great support. So thank you very much, sir, Your Worship.
Thank you, Max, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Max Harvey, former chair of Admiralty House, and a wonderful job you did on our behalf. So thank you very much. We are up to correspondence. And on correspondence, we have a memo from Mr. Gerard Lewis on emergency management planning. Who's supposed to bring this forward? There's a motion that has to come forward. Whose department would that fall under, Mr. CAO? All right. Deputy Mayor, I'm going to have to call on you, because I don't think I'm supposed to be making motions up here. And there is a motion involved, so I'm going to ask you if you'd bring this in, please.
Be my pleasure, sir. Appointment of an emergency management planning committee. Council previously approved the hiring of a consultant and the formation of an emergency planning committee. The formal resolution to form this committee was not formally ratified during a public council meeting and is now brought forward for council ratification. Whereas Section 5, subsection 1 of the Emergency Services Act states that council of every municipality shall, within 3 years of this act, having come into force, adopt an emergency management plan. And whereas Section 5, subsection 6 of the Act provides for amendments to the Act, and whereas the City of Mount Pearl previously adopted the City of Mount Pearl Disaster Plan, and whereas this plan is in need of a major revision to comply with current provisions of the Act, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Mount Pearl approve the establishment of an emergency management planning committee to develop the City of Mount Pearl emergency management plan, and that the Chief Administrative Officer or his designate is appointed as the emergency management coordinator. And
there's more.
There's more? Okay.
We need a motion separate? Okay. It's two motions? Okay, I was not aware. Thank you, Councillor Stoyles. We'll move the first motion then. It is moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Stoyles. All those questions or comments first. Anybody have any question or comment on this? Hearing none. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. The second here is the declaration of a state of emergency. In the event that a state of emergency is required within the City of Mount Pearl, action may be required immediately, without taking the time required to convene a public council meeting, to declare a state of emergency, and therefore the following motion is put forward to Council's ratification. Whereas the current City of Mount Pearl Act provides the authority to declare a state of emergency to Council or the Mayor, where previously authorized by Council, and whereas the updated Municipalities Act provides such authority to the Council or the Mayor without requiring previous authorization by Council, therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Mount Pearl authorize the Mayor the authority to declare a state of emergency in the city or part of the city, the closing of or the hours of operation of businesses and schools or a class of them in the city, the banning or controlling of public gatherings, the evacuation of buildings, the restriction or prohibition of the use of vehicles or a class of them on the streets of the city, the restriction or prohibition of the use of water in the city, and other action that the Mayor considers necessary, and I so move.
Moved, seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Questions or comments?
I hope this is a complete waste of time. I hope we never have to
let's never have to use any of this.
Yeah.
I think, if I could,
Councillor Walsh.
I believe, though, that it's a very wise move to give you the authority to do it. Obviously, in states of emergency, it's not always particularly practical to convene a meeting of the entire council, and whereas we now have the authority under the Act to do that, I think this is a wise move. As Councillor Tessier so rightly says, we hope we never have to use it, but it's too late if we're trying to scramble for a meeting, whereas we can now authorize the mayor to do that and declare a state of emergency. Obviously, it will be done probably very much in consultation with council, but I think having this motion passed and approved by council is an important step in the unlikely event that we face an emergency, and I think it's a wise move on our part.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Stoyles?
Yes, Your Worship, I was going to say, in the past we had a couple of major fires in our industrial park. I know when MCOR had a major fire a number of years ago, we certainly had shut down businesses and closed schools and that. So it certainly is important for us to have this motion in place.
Absolutely. I'll call the question then. All those in favour? Contrary minded? Motion carried. There is one little point I would like to point out here, and David, this is probably for your benefit, but I'm going to ask the CAO to update us on this. I know that this motion regarding the hiring of the consultant and the formation of the Emergency Planning Committee is coming out now because we're already done the work. We've already started the work. Just for the sake of all of council, can you give us a brief on where we are in the process? And I'm talking in terms of our redevelopment of our, I'll call it new or renewed emergency plan.
As council is aware, we must have the new emergency planning plan done and approved by not only council but by the fire and emergency services by May of next year. We have been working for a number of months on this plan. As a matter of fact, we only had a meeting yesterday and I'm pleased to report that we're probably about close to 95% complete. We anticipate another meeting to review the changes that we made yesterday, and then we'll be meeting with all of the planning committee with representations internally as well externally, and then we'll be bringing it back to council to give them a full brief. And we have moved away from the traditional methodology of emergency planning and moved into best practice and going with the 4 pillars of prevention, mitigation, response, and so forth to this whole plan. So I think the council will be very pleased with the draft plan, and within the next month to 6 weeks, we should be able to give you a detailed briefing on the plan.
The plan should then be finished, and we'll get a chance to have some input and ratify. I assume it comes here for ratification at some point?
It comes here for approval in principle.
In principle.
It must go to the Fire and Emergency Service for their review and approval, and then it'll come back with any changes that may be adopted.
Okay, perfect. All right. I thank you for the information. Anybody else with any further questions for the CAO on that? If not, we'll move on. The next item on the agenda is our Public Works Committee. Councillor Tessier, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Worship. The first item is a review for the tender and the supply and delivery of 16 hydraulic reversible plow blades with bids received from the suppliers that are listed, and we're recommending that the tender be awarded to the lowest qualified bidder, which is Toromont Cat, for the tendered price of $266,953.01, taxes included. And I guess the purpose of these blades is to make, I know that we're known for our efficient snow clearing as it is in Mount Pearl, but this will allow even more efficiency and safety with our snow clearing, particularly with one-way streets, with cul-de-sacs, even with some parking lots. So I so move.
It is moved by Councillor Tessier, seconded by Councillor Walsh. I guess this all goes back to the fact that we cannot plow cul-de-sacs is it a clockwise or in a clockwise fashion anymore. We have to go counterclockwise.
That's right.
The reversible blades will put more of that snow into the center of a bulb than it will into people's driveways.
Understanding that people who live on cul-de-sacs have smaller front lawn space to
That's
store
right.
the snow.
That's
so
right.
They're in a particular, unique position in that regard.
All right. Well, that's good. Councillor Stoyles.
I was just going to ask if this is going to be a better help too for one-way streets. When you go down one-way streets, a lot of snow. We get sometimes complaints from people who get more snow on one side than the other. I'm just wondering if that will help solve that problem as well. That's my understanding as well.
It should,
yes.
Because now the snow should be more evenly distributed as a result of that. But we'll wait to see. We'll wait to see. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor?
Okay.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
We have another tender here for a side loader commingled garbage packer. Marks, we reviewed the tender for the supply and the delivery of one of these units, and we have bids received from the suppliers that are listed, and we're recommending that the award of a 6-month lease to the low bidder, Saunders Equipment, with the option to purchase at the end of the lease period, and I so move.
It is moved and seconded. This is a lease for one of the new garbage trucks, but we've made application here to the provincial government, to their green fund, right? And they're for 4 that they're supposed to help fund for us, because our neighbors to the east got 10, and we're looking for 4. They only needed 6, and we're looking for 4.
Say it again, one more time.
That's all I'm saying to the province. We're looking for 4, so we're leasing one for 6 months.
We're leasing one for 6
while
months.
we wait for the budget.
With fingers crossed.
Right, because how many are we looking for, Council?
4.
4, I think.
Call the question. All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion is carried.
And, of course, all of this wonderful snow that we've received in the last 20 minutes, it feels like,
Yeah.
will hopefully be put to good use. We've undertaken some grooming of some of our trailway systems here in Mount Pearl. We've undertaken grooming of the Newfoundland and Labrador Trailway system, which, of course, runs right through Mount Pearl, and, of course, some areas, other areas as well, from the intersection of Mount Pearl St. John's to Team Gouju Park, traveling along the north side of the experimental farm, as well as some trailways in Powers Pond as well. And there's a map outlining which areas have been groomed. It's on our city's website if anybody wants to check it out. And of course, at the end of this winter season, we're going to look at this project to see if it was successful, to see if it was utilized, and certainly that'll help us make decisions in the future as well. So this is just for information purposes, and I hope that people are out enjoying the snow. And I'm going to put that in quotation marks because I don't particularly enjoy it myself. I don't see what there is to enjoy about it, but a lot of people do, and I can appreciate that as well. So we're just helping them along the way.
Well, I know that some residents had asked us a long time ago, and we put it in, I think it was last year's budget, was it not, that we would try this?
We bought the equipment.
Yeah, and so we're
Yep.
trying it.
Yep.
We'll see how people avail of it, and I hope everybody understands we got delayed because of the way the snow fell. We just got
my goodness.
buried alive.
Truly, and in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, at that 8 feet distributed over 4.5 months instead of 4 weeks would have been a lot easier to handle. But
Yeah.
anyway, I'm glad to see that we got to it and that some of the trails are being done.
And I hope that people utilize it. I really do. I mean, I know that I had somebody contact me recently saying, where can I do some good, some snowshoeing? And they didn't want particularly the fresh, undisturbed snow. I mean, I guess it depends on your skill level. So, of course, I made the recommendation very quickly. Off you go and have fun.
Go on a groom trail.
Tell me all about it.
Tell me all about it. Call me.
That's right.
Thank you so much. Does that conclude your report?
It does indeed.
We are off to Community Services. Councillor Walsh, if you would.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. The first item deals with a subsidy that we provide each year. As part of the Frosty Festival, as Council is fully aware, we have to close down the various activities that go on at the glacier, and because the Board of Management there would be obviously very much missing that revenue, and to assist, of course, and make sure that the Frosty Festival is successful, we subsidize that to a tune of an extra $10,000 a year. So I'm asking for the permission of Council now to allocate the $10,000 used for that glacier rental subsidy to be released, and I so move.
Moved by Councillor Walsh, seconded by the Deputy Mayor, the alternate today. Any question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
Along the same vein, Your Worship, related to the Frosty Festival, we've already, I think, allocated a $15,000 grant for the first installment, and as the joke says, the second installment is due, or up she comes. This won't happen, but the successful was a huge success, and we're happy to move the second installment be allocated as well for $15,000 for the total sum of $30,000 plus the $10,000 subsidy, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. Questions, comments? All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
If I could just have a brief comment since we're discussing the Frosty Festival rather than do it later, Your Worship. I just want to commend again the committee. This year's festival was a huge success. I want to acknowledge particularly the work of Andrew Ledwell, the chair, his committee, the various corporate sponsors, the individuals and groups who formed the majority of the volunteer base, and of course all of the people in Mount Pearl who every year get out and enjoy probably one of the premier festivals, winter festivals in all of Newfoundland and Labrador. and one of the best, really, and it's been said, one of the best in all of Eastern Canada. It's a huge festival, a lot of programming. This year we are fortunate, very pleased, very honored, in fact, to have the Premier Dunderdale at the opening, and I think along with 1,600 or 1,700 guests and people who took in what we refer to as the opening extravaganza, and an extravaganza it was. It was a great show, a free show, and what a great way to kick off the Frosty Festival. This year it's going to be bigger and better again, we're being told. It's the 30th anniversary, and we're looking forward to another great festival. But again, kudos to the organizing committee and to Andrew for just a phenomenal job this year. We're very, very much appreciative of all the work, and of course, because it went off so well, it's directly a result of the good planning and organization and detail that went into that. Thank you for that. The third item for community service, Your Worship, deals with the upcoming MS Walk. I believe these are held all across Atlantic Canada at about the same time of the year. We've been doing the regional walk for this area. It takes place on May 29th. We'll be at the Reed Centre. We do have our certificate of liability insurance, which is something that we always attain for walks or runs of this nature. This year it's scheduled for, I think it's a Saturday, May 29th. And so with the leave of council, I'll move that we again host that event, and this is really for information purposes only.
Thank you, sir, for that.
The next item, if I can just flip through here, is just we have the summer jobs. I just want to put the word out, particularly to our young people. We have quite a number of people employed in the summer as part of the summer grant programs. We have people at the school, quite a number of programs, summer day camp programs at the Reed Community Center, and quite a number of our young people in the city take up employment with us. The applications are now being posted, and in fact are available on our website. The young people in particular love to avail of the electronic access to the applications, so please do so. The closing date for applications is the 1st of April at 3:30 p.m. So again, to all the young people out there who are looking for some work for the summer, get your applications in, get them in a timely fashion, and we'd love to see you working as part of our many different programs throughout the course of the summer of 2011. Also, Your Worship, it's right around the corner. In fact, again, Councillor Tessier mentioned it seemed like all this snow in just 20 minutes ago. Today, we were enjoying 8 to 11 degrees, so it didn't seem like a winter
got up to
day
around
today.
9
It was
at
very
one point.
welcome news. Right around the corner, of course, will be the Easter season and the Easter camp. We have April 25th to 29th set aside for the Easter camp taking place for grades K to 6 students. The registration is ongoing again at the Reed Centre. If you want to get a place in that camp, because it usually sells out, get there early. Same thing with the summer camps. Registration is usually filled, so if you want to take part in those, get your applications in early. And a little, I guess this seems a little further off, but it'll be the last time we'll probably have it televised.
You're taking advantage of the TV screens
I am
here,
really,
Councillor.
and getting the word out. May 7th, we have our makeover, and again, you know, there's a lot of snow around, but with the temperatures today, we can sort of get in the mood of spring for sure. We have a great kickoff presentation again done at the Reed Centre, and when all this snow leaves and all the ice and the lawns are exposed and the open spaces and areas and playgrounds and neighborhood tot lots, quite frankly, it's a bit of a mess. And without the generosity and support of a lot of corporate community sponsors and a lot of individual neighborhoods, these people organize themselves, get out. They're usually sponsored by a number of important corporate sponsors, and we do what we refer to as a 20-minute makeover. It's a great event. It enables the people to get involved directly in cleaning up the city in their areas. I know we do it in our area directly behind the open space behind Wembley Crescent, and it's a great thing to be involved with. I encourage as many people as possible to come out, get involved, organize a group, pick up the bags here at the City Hall or at some of the other locations that will be advertised on the website. And it is, as you say, it's a little advance notice, but it's an important cleanup for the city, and would encourage people to participate. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. Next committee, Corporate Services. Councillor Lane not here. Councillor Tessier bringing in the report. Councillor Stiles, you'll be alternate on this committee today. Councillor Tessier.
Just a very brief report, Your Worship. First item is the invoices for approval. They are listed there 1 through 13, totaling $358,984.70, and I move that this be accepted as presented.
It is moved, seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Just to note, Avalon Coal, Salt, Road Salt and Trucking, $120,000. Invoice 4, Road Salt and Trucking, $38,000. Invoice 5, Road Salt and Trucking, $102,000. Invoice 6, Road Salt and Trucking, $9,000. In the name of God.
Do you see a trend? But you know what? But we are actually on budget with salt so far.
We're actually on budget with salt. I think we're a little over on the overtime, are we not? A little, says Scott, nodding. Oh, yes.
But again, that's the nature of the beast when you get that much snow in 20 minutes.
There it is. Call the question. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
That was the wrong kind of 20-minute makeover.
That was the wrong
That's
kind
right.
of 20-minute makeover. That's not the one we're looking for.
That's right.
All right, the next item is we've been advised that the IT manager has negotiated an improved contract with Bell Mobility for our cell phone and BlackBerry service, noting that we're going to receive the same benefits that have been achieved through the recent standing offer agreement that they signed with the provincial government, plus some other concessions like some free upgrades, which you gotta like. This plan will provide substantial savings and enhance services to the city, so we're recommending entering into an agreement with Bell Mobility for all cell phones and BlackBerries for an 18-month term, and
Which is simply a renewal.
Simply a renewal.
And with upgrades, with some money.
Yeah.
Moved and seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
That's it.
Thank you very much. Engineering Services Committee report, Councillor Aker.
Thank you, Your Worship. First item is a proposal from ITT Water and Wastewater for the renewal of the maintenance agreement for the 7 lift stations that we have here in Mount Pearl. Agreement includes biannual inspections of each station, fully detailed inspection reports at a cost of $1,609.65 plus HST per inspection per station. These stations are located throughout the city: Wyatt Boulevard, Kenmount Community Center, Clyde Avenue, Lindrose Place, Admiralty Wood, Emberley Place, and Birch Avenue. The committee recommends approval of that this maintenance agreement be approved. We did have a discussion in committee about why we would not, for example, tender something like this. But as I understand it, most of the components that are part of these lift stations were originally supplied by ITT Water and Wastewater, and it just made more sense practically and economically for them to have the contract. So I so move.
To leave it with them. It is moved by Councillor Aker, seconded by Councillor Stoyles again. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
Second item, Your Worship, is Admiralty Wood Lift Station. We have an upgrade tender award. You can see there was 5 bidders. One bidder was disqualified for lack of a bid bond. The lowest bidder that qualified was Pennicon Energy Technical Services in the amount of $34,532, and I so move that we approve this award.
Moved, seconded. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
Your Worship, the third item here is testing of geothermal wells, and this relates to the Reed Center project, which is the expansion of the Reed Center is a LEED Silver project. In order for, and basically the heat for the building is going to come from 2 main sources. There will be a field of wells, geothermal wells, which will draw heat from, using liquid, will draw heat from the ground to heat the building. Another source, of course, will be the EcoChill plant over in the glacier, which will also provide some heat for the building. But before we can do the final design of the Reed Center expansion, we need to drill 2 test wells. So this award here that we're looking for today, we had bids from 2 companies, the lowest being Pius Sullivan and Sons, the amount of $33,123.69, and I so move.
Moved and seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried.
Finally, Your Worship, is an Igor storm update. Igor hit us last year, as everybody knows, and there was quite a bit of damage done to the tune of about $2 million here in the city. A lot of the cleanup has been done, a lot of the smaller stuff, and there remains 3 main projects that the city will focus on this coming year. And we appreciate the patience, of course, of our residents and our community participants. But the 3 projects are the replacement of the Greenwood Crescent Bridge, the replacement of lights at Squires Field, and also phase 1 of the reconstruction of the Twin Falls trail system. And we're just tabling this tonight for information purposes.
Thank you, sir, very much.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Planning and Land Use Development Committee, Deputy Mayor Locke.
Thank you, Your Worship. Excuse me. All right, the first item here, Your Worship, has to do with an application that the city has received from Chromit Accessories to occupy approximately 94 square meters within a building at 1277 Topsail Road for the uses associated with mirror finishing of small parts and accessories using a water-based spray program. With respect to the Mount Pearl Municipal Plan, the property is located within an industrial designation, and it conforms to the policies and land use of such a designation. Also, with respect to the City of Mount Pearl's development regulations, it's located within industrial light, and again, it conforms to the policies of this particular designation. Because, Your Worship, spray painting is considered a hazardous industrial use, it is considered a discretionary use application, and this, of course, requires public notification. As per usual, we scheduled a briefing session for Tuesday, March 1st, 2011. It was cancelled, however, due to the fact that we received no submissions pertaining to this particular development application. With respect to the Provincial Department of Environment, the department has no specific requirements for spray painting operations such as this. The facility, however, must make sure that it complies with all applicable acts and regulations. It must also meet the requirements of the Regional Fire Department. Our own internal departments within the city had a look at this application, and there are no pressing issues. The Planning and Development Department, Your Worship, recommends approval of this particular application as such. The committee supports this and is recommending approval and the issuance of a development permit to Chromit Accessories, again, to occupy approximately 94 square meters at 1277 Topsail Road for the use of a spray booth for mirror finishing of small parts and accessories, subject to meeting the city's regulations and requirements, as well as requirements for any relevant external agency or department. And I so move.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried.
The next item, Your Worship, is the application for taxi cab business. The city is in receipt of an application for some taxi cab businesses to operate a dispatch office at 185 Commonwealth Avenue, for a cab stand at 185 Commonwealth Avenue, and a 2 cab stand at 7 Riverview Avenue. This applicant is also applying for the 6 cab licenses to operate the taxi cabs at these particular locations, as well as additional licenses up to the remaining number of licenses that are available to be issued within the City of Mount Pearl. The property at Commonwealth Avenue is zoned mixed development. At Riverview Avenue, it's zoned commercial general, and a taxi stand is a permitted use in both of these zones at these particular locations. As well, Your Worship, with respect to the Mount Pearl taxi regulation, there is a limit on the number of taxi cab licenses that are available within the city. And the number, of course, is based on the city's population. Currently, we have 28 taxi licenses in operation, and there's a remaining 9 additional licenses that are available for use. As such, the committee is recommending approval for this application for 2 taxi stands, 4 vehicle stand at 185 Commonwealth Avenue, and a 2 vehicle stand again at 7 Riverview Avenue, subject to their compliance with the Mount Pearl taxi regulations, and I so move.
It is moved and seconded. I got a couple of questions just very quickly. I didn't get up to have a look, so I don't know about 185 Commonwealth Avenue. It has the it has the parking situation handled.
I think it's the site of the former CNC cycle repair.
Okay. And so the district.
A lot of room there.
Right.
Okay, so the dispatch center would be located there.
Yes.
And the 2 cabs that are down on Riverview, where are they staying?
They would be at Riverview. That's what the application is for.
No,
Yes.
who's that? Whose building are they in front of?
I have no idea.
7 Riverview. Is that down by Trichomatic?
Mr. Yevchek. Yes, it is down by
I think it is
Trichomatic.
down that.
That's that they have permission from everybody on that. Okay. All right, that's fine. Any other question or comment,
I just have
Councillor
a question.
Stiles?
This is a brand new taxi company coming. Do we have the name of the company, or it's just a look at the application there?
This is
We have no
I
idea.
don't know if it has a name yet. It may have a trade name. Does it have a?
The only concern
Operating name?
I want to have is Riverview Avenue. We've received a number of complaints down in that area about other issues in the past, and I wouldn't want to see it with 10 or 12 taxis back and forth, because it is a residential area, and I certainly have 1 or 2 I have no problem with, or a couple down there, but I certainly wouldn't want to see the location being the main location.
Right.
Just in case it did change.
That's not the case.
I certainly wouldn't want that.
Mr. Mr. Yevchek has information.
Yes, Your Worship. Thank you very much. The main dispatch office in operation is on Commonwealth Avenue. The dispatch office is going in the building, and they have 4 parking stands, taxi stands on that site. In accordance with the regulations, we do approve the number of taxi stands that go on these sites, and under the development regulations. So we're only approving 4 on that site. On the Riverview site, the Riverview Avenue site, in front of Trichomatic, they do have permission from the property owner, and they have applied for only 2 parking stand sites there, which very much like Councillor Stoll is saying, is reasonable given the fact that on one side of the street it is commercial development, and across the other side of the street there is residential development. So two cabs and the stand on the commercial side should not really create any problems in that area.
Okay, thank you.
And any additional ones we could.
We'll be able to control that too.
Only 3 left anyway.
Right.
So do they come back looking for the other 3 here, or do we automatically get them? They automatically get them?
They want to buy all 9 licenses,
I'm
correct?
just wondering where the other 3 would go.
Where are the other 3 cars going?
Before we approve it, we need to know that.
Mr. Yevchek.
Your Worship, at this point, there's only 2 sites that they've identified in Mount Pearl. While they wish to have more licenses, all we have is information on these 2 sites, 6 taxi stand stalls. When they did make the original application, they were looking at another site in another municipality, but we advised them our regulations did not extend into the jurisdiction of the other municipalities. So I would think that the gentleman would probably be looking for another site here in Mount Pearl, and when he does find another site, it'll come back to council as this has for approval.
So we can
Thank you.
that as well.
Okay, that explains it all. All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried.
The next item, Your Worship, is the development permit list for February the 19th, 2011 to March the 4th, 2011. We have 1 development permit during this time period for Lanco Construction at 47 Sagona Avenue for the extension of a building, and I move that this list be accepted as presented.
The list is moved and seconded by Councillor Tessier. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried.
The next item, Your Worship, has to do with the building permits for, again, February the 19th to March 4th, 2011. During this time period, residential permits total $12,500. The commercial permits during the same time period total $10,000, bringing the total for this time period to $22,500. And I move that this amount be accepted as presented.
What a slow time of year, eh? All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried.
And there's one other item here, Your Worship, and it's not a part of that particular package. It's in another part here, so if you give me some time just to get through this. All right, here we are. It has to do with the Mount Carson Terrace Phase 5, a revised subdivision development. Just some background here, Your Worship. In 2010, Council approved the signing and the execution of a subdivision development agreement for the Mount Carson Terrace Phase 5 from the developer Donovan Homes to construct 63 single-family detached dwellings, both with and without subsidiary apartments. The agreement was prepared in accordance with Council's decision with respect to this subdivision. It was signed. The permit, however, has expired, and Donovan's Homes wishes to pursue a smaller subdivision application as Phase 5. Beside the new permit, the application will require a revised subdivision development agreement, and it's recommended that the request for a reduction in the number of lots for Mount Carson Terrace Phase 5 subdivision development be approved, and that a new development permit, be issued and a new subdivision development agreement be prepared to reflect the revisions. Essentially, they want to go from 63 lots, Your Worship, to 53 lots. And I so move.
I second it.
Moved, seconded. Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried.
And that's it for me, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're up to new business. Last week I see we started with Councillor Aker. We're going to go over Councillor Tessier.
Are you planning on doing a little bit of pancake bragging?
You can do it.
Well, since you got the final answer correct.
Weren't you the one that hit the home run for it? Hold on. According to Councillor Walsh, it was him.
No, she had the final answer that was correct.
I had the final answer that was correct. However,
Who scored the winning goal? That's the question.
John.
All right. John Walsh scored the winning goal.
in his defense,
Okay.
my question this year was really quite easy.
What was yours?
Not like many in years past. Mine was how many pancakes are on the poster, the Pancake Day poster. That was hanging behind me. That one. That poster.
I had to do a thing with fish and cheese and quarters up and what country?
Well, again, let's go back 2 years ago when my question was, what year did Aunt Jemima pancake mix roll off the production line?
Well, you were around.
Come on. Oh.
Anyway, brag away.
Anyway.
Where is our pancake?
It'll be presented, I'm sure. I'm sure they'll want to come and do a big...
Did they take it away on us?
They did. They did take it from
All
us.
right. We hang it with such pride. Year 3, eh?
I told the crowd today that the reason that we had to win is because we just don't want to have to paint the foyer out there. Look, we'd hate to have a faded spot where the plaque has been, because it's been there for just quite so long.
Quite so long.
Quite so long.
I should have bet Dennis the wave a flag or something.
I'd rather you
No.
That would be the kiss of death.
No. Anyway, for me, that's it. I just was pleased to be a part of it, and I hope that people got out and supported a good cause, and I hope that everybody's eating their pancakes. Sorry?
It's over next year, best 4 out of 7.
Best 4
That's
out of
right.
7.
We'll have to give it up then.
Hockey talk. Anyway, guys, and I hope everybody's paying attention to the herder, because I know it's pretty exciting. What's the tally? Is it 2-1?
2-1. 2-1 for the Blades. Friday night's big game.
Woo-hoo. Friday night's big game.
Battle of the Flags in the booth Friday night. Donnie Coombs is bringing his flag from Harbor Grace, and I'm bringing one from Mount Pearl.
Yeah, so I'm going to encourage everybody from Mount Pearl to get out and absolutely support the Blades as well they should. And
Get there early.
And
Absolutely.
carpool if you can, probably.
Yeah, that might be a good idea, too.
Carpool if you can. Anyway, that's it.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship.
In line with the hockey, the seniors are doing very well. And I mentioned to Mr. Chamarny today, our Director of Community Services, I know the herder sells out quickly, and maybe we're ahead of ourselves here, but I'm pretty confident that the Blades are going to make it to the herder. I don't know if I can say that, but I will. And just wondering if they do make it that far, and I don't know if our friends at Rogers Cable carry the final game of the herder. It might be an idea to have a venue within the city.
I think they do, don't they?
To have a venue within the city? No? Okay. Well, I was hoping they might have. I heard that.
All these cameramen here are all going, no.
All right.
So I believe they're
I
right.
won't pursue that. So I'll wish them luck. But I do want to, again, put a little plug in for the Mount Pearl Mark's Work Warehouse Junior Blades are also doing well in their playoffs.
Here.
They're playing off against the Celtics. They had a great game on Sunday night. They won in overtime. So they also are up 2-1. They're playing Wednesday night and Thursday night. So we have our two teams that are playing with great passion and great pride for the city of Mount Pearl. So that's good news all around.
Amen.
So I'll go from there just to another one, because we mentioned about the 20-minute cleanup that Councillor Walsh made reference to, which is a great initiative. But again, for people that get out walking around on the trails and the sidewalks, I just want to remind again the pet owners about cleaning up after their pets, because again, on some of the main thoroughfares, on Ruth Avenue, for example, there's too many examples of
But are even worse this time of year.
They're not picking up after their pets. So just a friendly reminder that, pick up after your pet, and we have our garbage cans along the way where they could readily dispose of that. So just a little reminder there. And that is it for me, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Stoyles.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I'm going to stay with hockey actually for a minute, because this weekend when I was in Corner Brook, I managed to get to a hockey game. When I landed in
And
Corner
somebody
Brook,
taught you the rules and everything?
Oh yeah, I knew the rules. I grew up actually, Your Worship, with hockey and spend a lot of time.
You were probably a Habs fan.
She was smart.
Anyway, Your Worship,
Oh God, they're spoken like a true one.
the Mount Pearl Athens A Blades, the young children, played in Corner Brook in a tournament the weekend. They came away with the bronze. So I want to say hats off.
You had to have been the only one in the stands to cheer them on, were you?
Actually, no, Your Worship. When I landed Friday afternoon, the hotel was full of Mount Pearlers. It was more I probably see more people from Mount Pearl this
In
past
Corner Brook.
weekend in Corner Brook than if I had to stay home, because I would
Very
have been
good.
home a fair bit if I was home. So I got to say I went, and my husband went to a couple of games, but I got to one game, and because I was at meetings for M&L this weekend, and the game I was at, that they did win, and their goalie got sick at the end, is why they didn't do so well in the last couple of games, but they played such great hockey and
won a bronze.
So
Good for them.
It was really, really
well
good.
done.
On a sad note, Your Worship, I would like for you to send a sympathy card to the Dunn family. Mrs. Madge Dunn passed away last week, and she's a long-term resident of Mount Pearl and a neighbour of mine, and actually they lived on my street for probably 16, 17 years, and she was involved with the Seniors Independence and a number of other activities within the city. And also, Your Worship, speaking again of hockey, the Hockey Dads is having a Texas Hold'em tournament this Thursday night, and I said I'd try and sell a few tickets for them. So if anybody is interested in going and playing cards on Thursday nights at the Glacier at 7 o'clock, and it's a great fundraiser for the Hockey Dads, and I wanted to pass that along. And the other thing I wanted to mention, Your Worship, as Councillor Walsh mentioned, was our Winter Carnival. There's one event left to go, which is the Irish Pub Night. It was one of the only events that didn't happen because it got cancelled.
That's right.
And apparently it's going to take place on the 20th of March. That's what I've been told by a member of the committee a couple of days ago. I don't know if it's confirmed yet, but it's at Knights of Columbus and Greenwood Crescent, and it will be the final event for the year. So we certainly would like to see all of council and anybody who's listening in the weekend that bought tickets for that event. They can still use their tickets. If they bought tickets and they didn't use them, they can certainly bring them back. We will certainly give them a refund for their tickets, because there might have been a few people that bought them and can't go, but we certainly would encourage everybody. It's usually a sellout crowd. It's local talent, and it's something that Knights of Columbus have put off for a number of years, and it's a must-attend event. And that's it for me, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Councillor Walsh.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I know Councillor Tessier mentioned the pancake trivia contest, and while that does give us an opportunity to have a little bit of fun with our friends from the City of St. John's, and we're always happy that we win, of course, but the real winner was the cause today. I think the homelessness project, the people who volunteered their time to serve the breakfast, and I think we really should throw a bouquet in the way of CBC. They do a tremendous job in providing service, volunteers, commitment, to doing that each and every year, and that's a big undertaking. It's a number of different locations.
13 or
quite a bit
14,
across the province, and they do a great job with it. So we have fun with it, of course, but the cause is really, really important, and it's a real big issue, the issue of homelessness.
When CBC Radio decides to give me a question I can answer, I'll say thank you.
That's a whole other different matter.
I believe
we should move on.
Jeff Gahuli is the issue. It's him.
Yeah, he's
don't
the
do me in.
Doesn't have his CBC hat on, because did you not win a toque this morning?
I did. I won a toque, and I need it, as you can see. But that's all good. Your Worship, moving on to a couple of other things that I want to mention. We have, all of us, I'm sure, have things that really, really irk us, pet peeves, if you like. One of my pet peeves is something that surfaces this time of the year, every year. And that's the whole business when the weather gets a little warmer of people thinking that they have to get the snow off their lawn and onto the street. And we spend an enormous amount of money getting the snow and ice off the street onto the lawn. And this time of the year, when you see 6 and 8 and 10 degrees, Mother Nature tends to take care of the snow. It really erodes very, very quickly, and you can see water running everywhere today. But it really does irk me when I see people, hell-bent on shoveling snow off their lawns, sometimes big chunks of ice, and throwing it onto the street. I really, really ask people to really think about what they're doing.
Because you're going to get a ticket for it.
Yeah, you can get a ticket for it, but the real tragedy is I saw an elderly person yesterday, actually, and it wasn't warm as it was today, but it was a beautiful day nevertheless. But an elderly couple walking along Westminster Drive, and again, people throwing snow on the street. It gets in the way of pedestrians. It's a problem, of course, for even traffic moving about, and it's just unnecessary. It really probably results in a few extra days of waiting and letting Mother Nature, the sun, and a little bit of rain, and eventually some fog do its course. So please refrain from doing that. If you're one of the people who tend to do that and like to have a nice clear lawn, really doesn't matter that much. I think keeping the streets clean is far more important. I want to throw a bouquet, Your Worship, if I could, to one of our own. Janice Sacre has been involved with a great project in Haiti, and I think we should acknowledge her. She was involved in making, I think, 120 dresses and collecting 64 pairs of pants or making them so that the young children in Haiti would have something to wear. As you know, they were devastated by an earthquake last year, tremendous flooding, tremendous devastation throughout the entire country of Haiti. And to have one of our staff members take the lead in such an important project, I think is really worthy, first of all, of acknowledgement. Janice is part of our human resources department. She's not just someone who talks about it. She's someone who obviously digs in. She's a doer, and I really compliment her for it. And I know that many of the employees here at City Hall do so as well. And the last thing I want to mention, Your Worship, is something that I sent to all members of council, actually to our staff last week. That's the whole business of these CFL fluorescent light bulbs. These are supposed to be the energy-saving bulbs. Apparently it's come to my attention, and there have been some safety seminars done with various groups that suggest that these are not always being properly used. There are some, as with almost all products, some brands are better than others. But these are really not meant to be used in things like track lighting. They're not supposed to be used when you're using dimmer switches. They're not supposed to be used, for example, in stovetops. And there have been many examples, in fact, where when they actually burn out, the mercury component that's left in them can sometimes be combustible, and it causes a fire. I heard in the information that was conveyed to me that in one case, when the bulb burned out, it left a flame of like 4 or 5, 6 inches. It was an incredibly dangerous situation. So I just throw it out there as a word to the wise. Be careful in how you use them. They are great in that they are energy savers, but they have to be used properly in the proper receptacles, and things like track lighting and some lamps and things of that nature are really can be quite dangerous. So
maybe something, given the ban that's coming on incandescent light bulbs, it might be something for you through regional fire.
Yep.
When Fire Prevention Week comes this year, that might be something for them to focus on, and it might be something we should provide some information to our residents on.
Actually spoke to Mike Dwyer about it today, and he was happy to receive some of the information that I forwarded him. I know some of the people involved with the St. John's Regional Fire Department have actually been part of some of the safety measures that have addressed this issue. And I know that we've all been copied on a couple of emails as well in terms of the safe disposal of these, in that they contain small amounts of mercury, but still, is it something that we need to be mindful of, and something I'm sure that we'll be referring to the Public Works Committee for some further discussion on that as well. So I just wanted to highlight those few issues, and thank you very much for letting me go before Councillor Aker today.
All right, because he keeps stealing your thunder.
I'm only serious.
Councillor Aker, if you say you have nothing.
Thank you, Your Worship, and there is nothing left. But I'd like to also give kudos to CBC. I agree with Councillor Walsh. The Housing and Homelessness Network, they really benefit from that this morning. It's a bit of fun. It's nice.
Do we know how much they raised, by the way?
Don't know. But I mean, I would say somewhere over $10,000. I'm just guessing, but they had a great turnout, much more than that, right?
Yeah.
And also kudos to the Blades, both teams, right? They're doing really, really well, and look forward to seeing them later on the week, right? This was not dealt with by committee, but I want to give a little update on the lights at Glencoe and Bruce.
Yes.
Those lights have been, I guess that whole intersection has been under construction now for the last few months, and winter's really set it back, as did earlier on Hurricane Igor. As I understand it, talking to Director Lush, he tells me that those lights will go through a commissioning process as soon as the snow was gone. They'll have a chance to repaint the lines, start putting up the warning signs that the intersection is about to be activated. I guess they'll start flashing the lights, and basically it's all weather dependent. Mother Nature will guide us through it, but hopefully by the end of April, at the latest, they'll be up and operating. So I just wanted to make the general public aware of that, and thank everybody for their patience, because that intersection is very, very heavily trafficked, and on occasions can be a dangerous intersection when you're trying to get through it, right? The second item, Your Worship, I want to ask a question. The Synergy project over on Black Marsh Road, I think the company that was developing that went into bankruptcy or receivership or something like that. Just curious, do we have an update as to, has anybody bought the property, and are there any plans for
Mr. Yevchek might have information for us. Mr. Yevchek.
Your Worship, and Councillor Aker, we do know that there are other interests involved with the property at this point. We've had some contact, but we're not quite sure exactly who the interested parties are. We have not received any applications, but I do understand, in talking to someone involved with the project, that they will probably be coming with something very shortly. It may be a bit different than what we see there right now, but we should get something within the next few weeks.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate
that conclude everything?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Tessier. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.